What is up, guys? We are back with another video, and today we're checking out another CPU cooler, which you can see right here. This is the SilverStone Hydrogon D120 ARGB, which is a dual tower, dual fan cooler. So let's go ahead and take a look. Taking a first look at the cooler, it's definitely a larger cooler, but it's not, the biggest cooler that we've ever seen. Now, I'll go ahead, just like always, I'll go ahead and put the dimensions sort of like right here. And the cooler weighs in at 885 grams. At the front of the cooler, we have our main intake fan, which is Silverstone's own HY D120 ARGB fan. Now, both fans on the cooler are identical, and they'll run at a max speed of 1850 RPM with a max airflow of 56.23 CFM, max air pressure of 1.98, and a max noise level of 30.5 dBA. These fans are, of course, ARGB fans, and they come with a standard 3-pin addressable header as well as a pass-through, so you can easily go ahead and daisy chain them together and then connect them to your motherboard. Looking at the cooler from the side, we can see the dual tower, dual fan design. Now, the heatsink towers have an offset design, which ensures you don't run into any issues when it comes to RAM clearance. The two towers feature an aluminum fin stack and are not all that thick. We can also see the fans are held into place by fan clips. The top of the cooler is not all that flashy. We just have Silverstone logos on both of the heatsink towers. As we take a look at the rear of the cooler, we can see how the heat pipes go up into each heatsink tower. Now we have six 6mm thick copper heat pipes, and they start at the base of the cooler and go up into each individual heatsink tower in sort of like a U fashion, which is pretty standard when it comes to dual tower heatsinks. Finally, we have the base of the cooler, which is nickel-plated copper, and it has a very nice finish on it, but of course, machining marks are visible. For our installation, we're going to be installing on an Intel Z490 system, so this installation should be pretty much the same across LGA 1200, 1155, 1151, and 1150 sockets. The first thing you'll need to do is put together the Intel backplate. This is a simple process by pressing the pegs through and then locking them with the included plastic locking pieces. The backplate is labeled, so you can adjust the locking pieces depending on what Intel socket you are installing the cooler on. Now, carefully place the Intel backplate on the back of your motherboard, lining up the pegs with the holes on your motherboard, and then push it through. Install the Intel spacers on top of the pegs once they are pushed through your motherboard. Now go ahead and install the Intel mounting bars. These need to go on the top and bottom of the socket like you see in the video. The included thumb screws make installing these pretty simple. Install the included thermal paste and then carefully place the cooler on top of your CPU, lining up the screws in the cooler with the pegs on the mounting bars. Take the included screwdriver and secure the cooler. One thing I really like is that you don't have to remove any of the fans when you install the cooler. The last thing you need to do is connect the fans to power and the ARGB connection to your motherboard. Note, this cooler does not have an RGB controller, so if you don't connect the ARGB cables, the cooler will not light up. With our motherboard back in our case, you can see that there's plenty of room, and it's nice that the front fan does not cover up our memory, so if you happen to have RGB memory, it wouldn't be covered by this cooler. When you power on your system, the RGB LEDs on the fans will light up nicely. Since we connected the fans to our motherboard, we can control the effects with our motherboard's RGB software. In our testing, we're going to be measuring both temperatures as well as noise levels. Now, we run 3 separate tests. So our idle test is taken on the Windows 10 desktop. Our load 1 test is taken using the 8064 system stability test with just the CPU selected. And then our final test, which is our load 2 test, that is also taken using the 8064 system stability test with both the CPU and FPU selected. Now, here is a rundown of the specs of our test system. at the end of the day, I think Silverstone has a really good cooler here. Now, while it's not breaking any records in terms of temperatures and noise levels, it does a good job overall. And that's one thing I really like about it, is that it's just a good, solid cooler. It's going to keep your CPU nice and cool. Now, one of the things I really like about this cooler is that it's super easy to install. With a lot of dual tower, dual fan coolers, most of the time you have to either remove the center fan or the front fan to get it on. You know, with this cooler, nothing like that. You kind of just place it on there and screw it in. It's very easy. The mounting system is very easy. Didn't run into really any issues when it comes to installation. And another thing is that this cooler is not overly large. When it comes to dual fan, dual tower coolers, we see a lot of big ass coolers. And this cooler, while it's larger, it's not overly large, which allows it to fit in a lot of smaller cases. You know, we do all of our installations outside of a case, but you could easily install this cooler in a case, no problem, just because of its size. So I really like it that it's not overly large. And of course you have the RGB lighting in the fans, you know, just adding a little bit more blink to your system is great. No controller with this, but you know, ARGB connections, you can daisy chain the fans together, super easy to do, and then control it with your motherboard software. You know, super easy right there. And another thing is that this cooler is not overly expensive. When it comes, again, to dual fan, dual tower coolers, we have these crazy prices, you know, $100, $120, $130. This has an MSRP of $49.99, which I think is a great deal. So if you're looking for, you know, a dual tower, dual fan cooler that has pretty good performance, looks good, and is super easy to install, go ahead and check out this cooler. Now, if you have any questions about the cooler, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up. We'll see you guys in the next video.